Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the show. We've got a little bit of a technological fiasco happening this morning, and so this afternoon, so I'm not sure whether we're connecting it or not. Jeanie has not been able to get on the internet, if you can hear us. We have a journey going on here in Springfield where we're picking people up at the airport. So apologize for being late with the show. I hope that we're getting through, and if we're not, well, I guess I'll just be talking to myself. You could text me, and just a quick text if you can hear me. And again, our apologies. Welcome to the show. And of course, our project here is one of learning and teaching the ancient Aramaic tool of forgiveness. And the forgiveness process that we're talking about has nothing to do with what the world teaches about forgiveness. The world teaches us, it's served us up a Trojan horse that keeps us locked into the game of pretending that somebody else outside of us could possibly cause something to happen inside of us. And, of course, when we believe that, then when we're in pain or turmoil, our conversation's all about somebody else. It's all their fault, if only they'd change. And when we're in that if only they'd change process, then we hide a part of ourselves from ourselves, and that part then becomes unchangeable. So that's where most people are living, in an unchangeable mind, controlled, defined behavior and personality defined by that dissociated part of the mind, and all the while talking about blaming everybody else. So we're here to undo that conversation and to turn it around. And the turnaround we're looking to do is to ask you to consider actually entering into the process of forgiveness. The ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness has nothing to do with I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. It's a tool with which you go inside yourself, find the dissociated part of your mind, change it, and heal. And then the conversations about blaming everybody else end, because there's nobody to blame when you realize that everything that you feel comes from inside of you. Our project is one of bringing the tools of forgiveness to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. We invite you to be part of the team that changed the world by doing that. And one of our projects is to create a space that's safe for human life to show up. If you think about the first time you held your newborn child, you now have a perfect definition of love, of human life. And what the world does is it brings us into a space where it starts to put thumbprints on us that eradicate human life and leave us stuck in this mind of hostility and fear. What we're looking to do is to invite you to engage in the process of forgiveness. Be willing to be responsible for, remove your hostility and fear. Whatever you're facing, the cause of what you're feeling has nothing to do with anything outside of you. Once you realize that, then you can go in and delete all the insane things that have gone on for generations in our culture, the things that lock us, our children, and their children, until somebody says, I'm ready to change the game. So we're here to change the game and to create a space where it's safe for human life to show up on planet Earth. And one of the aspects of that project is to put an end to war. Of course, the reason for war is everybody's got somebody else to blame, and while we've got somebody else to blame and it's all their fault, of course, we then want them to change our minds, and if they won't, then we've got a thing called war. So we're here to change that whole game. If you're not familiar with the conversation or how forgiveness works, we invite you to go to our website. All the technology is there freely, www.whyagain.com. soon to be switching over to whyagain.org. And on the right-hand side of the current site, the .com site, about 6 links down, you'll see a link that says download worksheets. That will give you the worksheet process itself, chapter 24 for my book, and then there are 5 radio shows where we've actually walked somebody through the whole process of forgiveness. So we invite you to tap into that. All the instructions are there. You can download my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, free, and we'll be on track with expanding the teaching of forgiveness to planet Earth. So we're still waiting to see if Jeanie can get actually her son. She's trying to get her son online to bring the show up in his computer. We haven't had the ability to do access to the control panel, so that's why you're not hearing Jeanie's voice, and or if you're trying to call in, you're not able to get into the queue to be online. So we'll see if that comes together and how it all happens. And we're sitting here with 3 cars moving around the city of Springfield and shuttle service heading back to Heartland for our 9-day intensive that starts today. So we'll begin that this evening. And if you're interested in playing the game of forgiveness, tap into the energy that we'll be generating. We've got a pretty full house at Heartland, and it's going to be an exciting 9 days. And then that 9-day turns into 17 days of forgiveness. In the meantime, we're actually looking for Jeanie. We're not sure where she is. She went to a restaurant. She walked over from the hotel we're staying in to try and get an internet connection. So we think we know where she is, but we're looking, and we'll see if she's got Ryan online yet. So, Jeanie, are you with us by any chance? No sign of her yet. Okay, well, I guess I'm talking to myself now then, because nobody else can tap in. Okay, to the website, and we'll just move into looking at this whole dynamic that we call forgiveness. The ancient Aramaic idea is that of letting loose of what never belonged. And David's coming up with his phone in his hand. So, David, you can hear me all right? Oh, cool. But you can't speak to me, right? Because the chat room, have you hit 1? Excuse us, we're still trying to work the technology through. No, Jeanie's having trouble getting on the website. So what is this thing called forgiveness? Well, when you tap into the idea that you've been through a particular painful reality 87 different times with 42 different people, you start to realize that you're the only one that was there every time. Once you start to recognize that you're the only one that was there every time, then maybe you suspect that you're involved with your life and it isn't all them. Recognize that it's not all them, and you've got the first opening into the part of your mind that creates your pain, and I guarantee that the pain that you experience in your life that you blame everybody else for, you could go back and remember when people in your life around you as you were being raised had similar kinds of stories and similar kinds of pain, because it tends to be passed on from generation to generation. That's why the old story in the Old Testament about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years, they said that in order to get out of the desert, which is simply the state of unconsciousness, all you have to do is get rid of the old generations. And, of course, getting rid of the old generations has nothing whatsoever to do with letting other people off the hook because of what's going on inside of you. It's got to do with changing the unconscious dynamics inside of yourself. So the old generations, it's not about people dying off in your bloodline. It's about removing the parts of your mind. The root of the word generation is genari, which means cause. Removing the parts of your mind with which you cause your pain, and recognizing that your pain is an internal process, and it's all about you, and it's all changeable. So Jeanie's walking up to the car, and what's the verdict? I'm going to just check with her.
On, but now I'm lost.
So Ryan has to say, awesome. Well, Ryan, if you're on the switchboard, that's fabulous.
He can't hear you. He just, okay.
Oh, okay. So he's.
Okay, Brian.
We're working on it here.
Okay.
What fun!
Click the button.
So
that has
you can
the
hear
little
Jeanie in the
yellow
background.
next
She's
to it, and
she's
click the
instructing
area code.
her
Okay,
son
the one that is on top.
to operate the switchboard.
Okay, click the one on
And
top.
so we've got a
Yeah,
fun session going on
right
here.
beside of it, is a button that looks like a microphone. And click it, yeah, and then tell me what area code. 617.
Area code
Hello.
617. You are on the air. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
We
how
did
are
it.
you?
It's a miracle.
Hey.
And leave them on until they get through talking. And then
So 617. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is Beverly, and I'm calling from Boston.
Say again?
Beverly from Boston.
Beverly from Boston. How are you, young lady?
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for calling me young. I really appreciate that.
Okay, well, we're here for eternity. That's the game.
Yes.
If we stop killing ourselves, if we stop the hostility and fear game, we stop killing ourselves, then there's a whole different game for actual
Amen.
human life to play. And of course, we
Amen.
kind of live on a planet where human life has just about been disappeared.
Yes.
So we're looking to reestablish it.
Amen. Amen to that.
So what do you have on your mind today?
Well, what's on my mind today is it's interesting that I have made a decision to make some changes in my life,
Right.
and I've made some peace. I've made peace with things that have been bothering me in the past, but there seems to be one area of my life that I seem to be struggling with in making peace with, and that is with a relationship.
Right.
And
Well,
I feel
that's
that
always the biggest learning opportunity, isn't it?
Yes. And I feel that it's kind of, I don't know if I'm self-sabotaging myself or what.
Well, tell me a little bit about what's going on and see if we can be of some support.
Well, it was a relationship that there was no closure to the relationship. It just, we both went our own separate ways. That is what it was. And
so it's a relationship that's ended, and so what's happening for you? What are you going through with that?
Well, it's been a while since I've actually have even thought about the relationship. But when I made a decision that I wanted to move on, even pick up and leave, and just start a new beginning for myself, then these feelings of this relationship started to come back, and I just feel that if I don't really get to the root of it, that it will really, I feel that it will trip me up going forward. And even, opening the door for new relationships, for love.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I acknowledge you for being willing to move into acquiring some new skills before jumping into a new relationship. There's a friend of ours that tells a story about this guy who's going out of town, and he goes to visit his buddy who's opening a new business, and he's just putting up his new sign, and he's got a sign that says handmade wooden chairs, and the guy says goodbye to his friend. He says, I'm going to be gone for 6 months, and I'll be back, and when I do, I'll come back and visit. So he, for 6 months, come back, and there is his buddy taking down his handmade wooden furniture sign, and he's putting up. He says, what happened? He said, well, he said, I just found I wasn't very good at working with wood. And then as he takes the sign down, he puts up the second sign, and the second sign says handmade wooden furniture. And his buddy looks at him and says, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? He said, well, I just thought I'd try and hope it would be different. And so many people don't bother acquiring skills, and they walk into a new relationship carrying all kinds of dissociated trauma, pain, fear, anger, rage, grief. And then when they enter into a new relationship, because you can't go into a relationship without opening that part of you into a real relationship, and you can harden yourself against it and hide everything, but once you start to open that part of you, then you're going to meet what's there, and sadly what most people do is they then blame their partner because all that stuff is there. Look what, you're the one who made me feel angry. Now you're making me sad. I said, well, have you ever known this anger before? Oh, well, yeah, all my life. Have you ever known this sadness before? Well, yeah, all my life, but it's your fault now. And so what I would invite you to do is to step into the reality management worksheet, the forgiveness process from the Aramaic, and you can do that by going to our site, whyagain.com, whyagain.com, and on the right-hand side, there's a link that says download worksheets.
Okay.
If you click on that link, it'll give you the worksheet process. And as you enter into that worksheet process, there are 5 different radio shows where we have done the whole process with people, and there are instructions to go through the whole worksheet. And as you start to work with it, you're certainly welcome to call into the show with any questions or refinements on how to do the process of forgiveness, how to carry out that tool. So that would be my first suggestion, that you start working with that. In the meantime, there's a really simple tool that we can do over the air, and actually if there's anybody in the audience that has any relationships where you have emotional turmoil, emotional trauma that tends to repeat, then this tool is very powerful in letting those things loose and letting go of them. And the emotional attachments, it doesn't necessarily, letting go of emotional attachments does not necessarily mean that I lose the relationship. I lose the emotional turmoil and trauma around. I remove that link with that person, which tends to improve the relationship tremendously if it's still there, or starts to free me from those dynamics. And then as you engage in the forgiveness process, that will just move forward the cleaning out of those old energies. So if you'd like to go through, I can guide you through it, and or anybody else that's on the show, if you want to just tap in. It's a really simple 2-minute meditation, but it's extremely powerful in how it changes things.
Okay.
So if you'd like to do that.
I would love that.
Awesome. Okay, so are you in a place where you can be comfortable and close your eyes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to ask you to just get physically comfortable, close your eyes, and what's the name of just the first name of the person that you're doing this around?
Michael.
Michael. Oh, well, here we are. I know that guy. At least this one named Michael. So, all right. So then if you just get quiet, and anybody who's listening to the show, if there's somebody you've got some emotional stuff going on with, you might just want to go in and do this particular exercise. So you want to get centered and quiet, and I want to guide you to the place, to your awareness to the place in your brain where the unconscious is seated, and you can cut these attachments.
Okay.
And to do that, I'm going to ask you to imagine that I have 2 sharpened pencils, and I'm going to insert one of them through the center of your forehead. I'm going to insert the other one right down through the center of your crown. And where the 2 pencil tips meet is the seat of the unconscious. So if you want to just close your eyes and focus in on that place in your brain, and when you're there, just let me know.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay? Now, I want you to stay focused there and allow an image of Michael to come to mind. So, and when you've got that image and you're centered in that place, then let me know.
Yes.
Okay? And then there's a power, a literal elemental force that was taught about 2,000 years ago in the Aramaic that was called Ruka. So we're going to ask, and its definition is a power that, when invited into activity, will undo the effects of our errors and teach us the truth. So we're going to ask that power for support here. And once again, when you're centered and you have that picture of Michael, I'm going to ask you to just speak the words and do the release of, I release all attachment. Ruka, I release all attachment to Michael. So when you're ready, when you're centered there, you have that image, then just, Ruka, I release all attachment to Michael.
Ruka, I release all attachments to Michael.
Okay. What's happening to the image you have of him?
Actually, it looks like it's fading.
That's what usually happens. There you go.
Yeah, it looks like it just...
Yep.
Wow.
Okay. And are you noticing anything happening in your hands or in your head?
Actually, believe it or not, I have this big smile on my face.
Yeah.
There's
Good.
like...
Cool.
Wow. I mean...
Yep, it's amazing. I mean, I've seen such dramatic changes in people's relationships when they do that. It's
wow.
Amazing.
I actually feel it in my solar plexus as well.
Mhm. Yeah, oftentimes there'll be a tingling in the hands or in the head, a lightness in the stomach, and a change in emotional condition.
Yes, because when we started this, I felt very emotional. And when I released it, it was like it just started to disintegrate, and I could feel. I'm still sitting here with my eyes closed, and it feels like there's light.
Cool. So then just focus into the light, and then seeing as how that light is appearing spontaneously, then let's just ask it to go to work and flush through everything that you're willing to let go of. You know, one of the reasons why we tend to hold on to the things that destroy our relationships is that we think that I need anger to protect me. I need to be able to attack. I need to be able to punish, all kinds of things that I think I need to do in order to protect myself and be safe. And so if you just breathe deeply and let that light move throughout your solar plexus, throughout your chest, throughout your arms, your legs, your torso, and up into your brain, and just ask it to just flush out everything that you're willing to let go of in the way of traumatic ways of dealing with your relationships. And let them go.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. That is amazing.
It is amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
You will see all kinds of changes all around you as a result of this.
Wow. Because, again, it was interesting is that when I brought him into focus and went to that place in my brain where he still is taking up room and he's not paying rent for, there was a sadness, and I wanted to cry. But when we actually released it and it started to disintegrate, there was joy. I could smile. It was actual joy.
Awesome.
Wow.
Very cool.
And I can do this with any type of situation that I am holding on to.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that Aramaic wording that you used for that?
The word is, when you download the worksheet, you'll see down at the bottom there's a larger definition of it, but in Aramaic it's ruka de kudsha, and it's a feminine elemental force that would invite it into activity, undoes the effects of our errors, and teaches us the truth.
Wow.
And so you want to, when you invite that, and there'll be more explained in those other radio shows where we go into that on a deeper level. Okay. And what I would suggest that you do is let this sit now for about a week. Don't be doing any more of them at this point, and just let that process. And then if you've got another one, leave a week space between it, because it can do some pretty deep undoing, and the undoing has to be redone. So give yourself some time. You don't want to rush into it, or you can sort of overwhelm yourself.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. I'm definitely going to go to the website. This is great.
Fabulous. All right.
Wow, I feel so much better.
Well, very good. And it's whyagain.com. We're actually just in the process of setting up a new site, so it'll soon be changed over to whyagain.org. And the links to the worksheets will be at the top of the page on the new site, but on this one it's on the right-hand side, about 6 links down.
Okay. So. Beautiful.
Cool.
Thank you so very much.
Oh, delighted.
To you.
Delighted.
That was great. Thank you.
Who knows who else went through the process? If you can hear from anybody, our call-in number is 646-200-4169. We'd love to hear your sweet voice and tell us what's happening. So thank you for your call, and we'll look forward to being in touch again and hearing from you. Hey, Jeanie.
We don't have another caller right now with their hand up, but David and Tim are both with us.
Well, hello, Dr. David and Dr. Tim.
Hello, hello.
How are you, gentlemen?
Doing well.
Wonderful. Well, I don't know if you were in the original fiasco at the starting of the show, but we had some technical difficulties, and we're actually in Springfield. And I'm wondering, because we're just getting everything ready to start our 9-day intensive tonight, we tried to reach you a little earlier. Have you got some time to handle the show for a little bit, Dr. Tim?
Yes.
Could you? Oh, that would be awesome, because I've actually got David here, and we're getting ready to do some air conditioning stuff, so in order to get back to Heartland and get it operational. So if I can do that, I'm going to turn it over to you and Jeanie, and we'll just take it from there.
All right.
Thank you. Fabulous. Look forward to seeing you on the 1st, or the 31st, pardon me, the 31st.
I'm looking forward to it, too. Have a safe trip
Fabulous.
back.
All right, we'll do it. Thank you, sir. Blessings.
Well, we do have Nene in the chat room, and she is typing in from Venezuela. She says that she briefed her daughter on Saturday and that it was awesome, that her daughter did very well, went in deeply, and she said she was almost went unconscious breathing her daughter, and that at the end she had to lay down and take a nap. So she's saying that it's beautiful there in Venezuela, and I told her just to remember how to get back to Florida.
Said hi and said hello.
So, absolutely.
Well, so do we have any other callers?
Nobody has their hand up right now, no. So 646-200-4169 is the number. Press 1. That puts you in queue to speak to us. We'd love to hear from you.
So, Jeanie, how have you been? How's your processing been going?
Well, I have definitely been in process, Tim. It's like I think I had my own intensive. And I told Michael I can actually, you would think I've been doing this work long enough that I would, have the hang of some of this. But I said, there have been a few days and even up to yesterday where I said I can almost see why people go comatose, because it's like, I just can't handle anymore. It's like stress level up to the max. And so... And then I found out Ari may not stay, so that added a little bit to my stress. But we'll take it one day at a time, see what happens.
So let me just ask before I forget, when Michael keeps announcing the website, the new website says it's going to be whyagain.org? .net?
Yes. It's whyagain.org.
Okay, so are you hopefully just going to keep the other name so that... Yeah,
they will actually, the old website will stay active probably for at least a year until people get used to it. What we'll start doing is putting redirects so that, like, if people go to a certain page, that it'll say, you're going to be redirected to, and it will redirect them to the whyagain.org, and it will do that until people get used to going to the new location. So I will still keep, the worksheets, and actually we haven't figured out that there's the online worksheet and the game. Those things aren't working on the new one yet. So until I get those working, I will direct people back over. So it's kind of weird. It's like things that are working will get redirected from .com to .org, and things that aren't working yet on the new site will go from .org to .com. So they're going to feed each other for a while until we get all of the kinks worked out.
Okay, and then you can keep that domain name for years and just have it redirect to .org.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's
the way you guys, with the way you guys have been putting this out there for so long at whyagain.com, I would think that for as long as I can think into the future, you should still have whyagain.com.
I agree.
Be a fruitful name for people.
Right.
Well, so in this processing and this turmoil and trauma you've been going through, what's been your most effective or useful tool?
Well, I've been doing the worksheets, but it seems like the breathing. Michael actually walked me through a meditation the other day of just totally, like tightening my toes and then releasing and sensing what that release feels like, to actually, and then he'll go, okay, now tighten your feet. Okay, now tighten your calves and your thighs, and moved all the way up until I was like tightening my neck and my jaw. And so just like one part of the body at a time, going up and getting it really tight and then releasing it and then actually tapping into what does that release feel like. And that was really powerful. By the time that he got up to my shoulders and neck, I was actually almost into a still point. So, and we were doing that over the phone. I mean, he was already in Missouri and I was still in Tennessee, and so that was real powerful to do that and to just sense, okay, what does it feel like to let it go? Because that's really what we need to do, is just to let go. And I told Michael, I said, I understand I need to let go of the goals. I understand that it's all internal. And in my head, I understand that, but my body wasn't cooperating. My body was still tense, and it was like nervous. My heart was like beating out of my chest. It was like all of these stress factors coming out physically, and it's like, mentally I knew, but that's like, throwing the paper wad in the trash can. I said, it's not happening that easy, though. And, I mean, I've been doing this work a long time, so it's just going into that next depth, that next layer, and it's facing fears that have been generational for me. And so it's not going to be an overnight let it go, but...
Well, I'm glad that you were able to tap into that progressive relaxation exercise and have it useful.
Yeah, it was. It was very useful. So, thank you. And we did have a hand just go up in the switchboard. So area code 731. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you are. This is Dr. Emma. How you doing?
Good to see you. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you for doing your show, because that's the topic that I'm going to be doing for a long time, forgiveness. So I was glad to see that because that is so key. For me, it was truly a release and a cleansing and a healing of my mind, my body, my soul, to be able to let go. And, I was brought to Job, when he forgave his friends, and that's when things turned for him. And Yahweh had given me the reason that we forgive. We should pray for those individuals that they turn from their evil, wicked ways and stop, putting out that negative energy, because it is so draining. It's like an infection. So when we're caught up in unforgiveness, we are not aware of people around us, and we in turn start spreading the infection. Maybe somebody might say something to you and you caught up in that and you don't hear them. And now you just offended somebody, then they go talk about it, and it's just, it's just a mess. But that is the most powerful thing that we can do, is forgive. And as I'm clearing, things that I had forgotten now is coming back to surface. And so I'm forgiving myself, I'm forgiving them, and, clearing.
Let me interrupt you here. I didn't catch your name. Can I have your name?
My name is Dr. Emma Sarah.
Emma Sarah?
Yes, sir.
And have you been familiar with Dr. Ryce's work for a while?
No, I've called to the show, and I've listened before.
Okay,
a couple of times.
You called in just the other day, didn't you?
I think I did.
Yeah, near the end of last week?
Yes, I think so.
And I just wanted to highlight that the work he has on his website and the work we're promoting in this show has to do with forgiveness the way the ancient Aramaic tool was presented.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with forgiving myself or forgiving another person.
Okay.
It has to do with the concept of canceling and dismantling any reality that I've created in my mind that leaves me feeling any form of hostility or fear.
Okay.
So when you talk about forgiving yourself or forgiving others for what they've done to you, that in this work would be considered the ancient Greek term of pardoning.
Okay.
And in that concept, we have to agree that whoever did something, they did it wrong, it was bad, it was evil, and it should be punished, but we're going to be bigger than the other person, and we're going to forgive them or pardon them so they don't get punished.
Okay.
This work has to do with realizing that the world I experience is the one I create inside my own mind.
All right.
And that's the reality we're talking about. So if there are 5 people in a room witnessing something, there's an actuality that happens, and there are 5 different realities going on. Each person creates their own reality in their own mind.
Okay.
And when I create a reality in my mind after interacting with someone, let's say someone comes up to me and says, I have an ugly shirt on, and I create a reality in my mind based on that interaction, and it leaves me feeling any form of hostility or fear, I created that.
Okay.
They didn't put hostility or fear into me. They just came up and said some words.
Okay.
All those words did was resonate a reality that was already in me. And if it comes up and I experience it, there's nothing for me to pardon them for or forgive them for the fact that I had hostility or fear in me that got resonated by the words that they spoke.
So how do we create that?
Well, there primarily we have 2 primary sources, as Dr. Ryce talks about it. One is the choice of what we think about, because our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions are simply shadows of our thought. So if we sit and think sad thoughts long enough, we will start to feel the sad feelings that go along with them.
Okay.
And if we sit and think happy thoughts long enough, we'll start to feel the happy feelings that go along with them. And again, in all of this work, we don't want anybody to believe what we're saying. We want them to just test it out for themselves and experience it. So, for instance, in the worksheet process, we're asked to identify a situation that happened that we don't like and we want to feel differently about. And then we're asked to identify the emotion we're aware of feeling. And the very next step is we're asked to identify which thought have we chosen that's actually creating the feeling. And the newest worksheets highlight the fact that we should only use one emotion, one feeling word per worksheet. So this makes it much more accurate in defining which thought do I have that's generating the feeling of anger in me right now. So let's take the example of the person who comes up to me and says, you're wearing an ugly shirt. And if I'm aware of anger in me, I would write the anger on the worksheet, and then I would think, I would try and figure out what thought do I have that's generating that anger, that feeling of anger. So I might have a thought like, this person has no right to tell me that my shirt is ugly or how to dress. So if I have this sense of, I'm a doctorate of clinical psychology, and I've never been criticized for what I wear before, and I always get good ratings when I look professional when I do public presentations, and how dare this person? Well, that would be my thought. How dare they? They have no right. And the more I think, how dare they have no right to criticize my clothes, the more angry I'm going to feel.
Mm-hmm.
The second way that we end up having these things in us is scriptures from a lot of different sources tell us that the sins of the fathers are passed, yea, unto 3 and 4 generations. And they're the sins and the successes, and not just of the fathers, but of the mothers. It's we get energetically and genetically everything that our ancestors have been through. Mm-hmm. And if you go back 4 generations, well, where did the person 4 generations get their stuff from? From 4 generations back, etc. So I have, virtually an infinite number of lifetimes of human mistakes and errors and successes and problems that I inherit genetically.
Okay.
And energetically from my generations in the past.
Okay. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. All right, in the case of someone who was, there's incest in the family and someone was sexually abused. Now, explain how that worked with that.
Well, there is no exception to the way things work.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to figure out how this particular situation worked or that particular situation worked, excuse me, then you can dig into that and you can try to think with your logical mind how it all worked out. But the general rule for observation is, if I'm feeling it, it's already inside of me. I'm creating it with my thoughts, or I inherited this and it's in my unconscious energetically and from the generations, both in my genetics and my energetics. So when you're asking specifically about what happens in incest in a family, generally all we know is people are born as these innocent, loving, perfect little beings, full of the creation of life. And Dr. Ryce says, we're terming human life as the energy that gives rise to that perfect little infant at the moment of birth. So we want to try and reach the point where we've removed everything from our mental state, from our thoughts, from our energetics, that is less than or other than that perfect, energetic energy of the newborn infant. And so if you're asking, how does something like incest happen, clearly the world, the years of trauma and conditioning have put their thumbprints on someone, since everyone started out as that perfect energy of love. And they've inherited through their ancestry, and they've had events throughout their life, and they've been conditioned to think that other people did things to them. So they've accumulated pain and fear to the point that they could possibly do something that horrific to another human being.
But what about the victim? I mean, what is a baby? I'm trying to grab that concept that the baby would draw somebody to them to molest them.
Well, I don't want to get into the idea that infant drew that into their life, but if that happens in that life, the way the person is nurtured through it and chooses to label it and respond to it makes all the difference in how that impacts the person's life. So you would need a greater mind than mine to tell you how does the universe work, so that is there justice and why is this happening to this infant. But we can observe that people who have the energy of love in them, who are focused on love and compassion, can't do an act like incest. And furthermore, the more we hold the energies of anger and fear in our minds, the more we add to that energy around us. And so, we had this situation where someone went into a theater in Colorado recently and injured and killed a lot of people.
Right.
If we keep spreading this through our airwaves, and we keep talking about how horrible this was, and we keep saying how this guy needs to be punished, and we keep showing all of the victims, and we generate all of this sadness and anger and fear in all of the minds hundreds and thousands of miles away from where this tragedy occurred, we're just adding to that energy in our atmosphere, in our culture. And this work would strongly recommend that rather than sit and feel rage and hurt and sadness and helplessness, that we pick up the tool of forgiveness that's on the website completely for free. Dr. Ryce doesn't charge for any of the tools he gives on his website. Pick up that tool of forgiveness and go into myself and say, okay, I'm feeling really angry about this guy that went into a theater, in Colorado, and here I am living in Illinois. And you might wonder, well, how could something that happened that far away that I'm only hearing about in newspapers or in airwaves, how could that be affecting my life so profoundly? Well, only because of what I choose to focus on in my thoughts. And if I'm choosing thoughts that are generating anger, I can pick up the tool of forgiveness and over again take the reality management worksheet and dismantle the parts of me in my mind and my experience that hold anger. So then soon there's no anger to be resonated by this event. If I have fear, I'm afraid to go to a movie theater, I can pick up the tool of forgiveness. Use the reality management worksheet to dismantle the parts of my mind that are holding fear. And then there's no fear to be resonated by the thought of going to a theater or another news story. That's how this would work. And when we do that, we eliminate more of the anger and the fear and the sadness and the feelings of hopelessness from within our individual minds, and then it lets the light of the love of the energy of creation that we were born with shine all that more brightly and resonate all that more strongly within ourselves and those around us. And in general, that's the theory about how we're going to end war on planet Earth. That's the theory of how we are going to hold more and more energy of love conscious in our minds on a daily basis, and thereby positively affect not just our individual lives, but the lives of all those around us. That's what this work is about.
Interesting. I'll have to really look at that.
It is, in my 38 years of doing therapy, it is the most powerful, succinct tool I've run across for helping people move to a place where their lives are better. Their experience of life is more loving and more calm and more peaceful day by day by day. And it's available free on the internet at www.whyagain.com. Whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Worksheets, download worksheets. Click on that, and the first two links give you the worksheet itself and Dr. Ryce's chapter of his book that explains it, and then the next 5 links are audio, radio downloads of him stepping through that worksheet process with different individuals, live, real situations, not staged, phenomenal set of instructions for how to put this tool to use in your life.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to check it out.
And it's free. So the price is right. The only price is your effort and your willingness. And the greater the degree of willingness and honesty that a person holds within them as they approach this tool, the greater the results they'll achieve.
Okay, I got you.
So, Doctor, could you give me your name one more time, please?
It's Dr. Ima Sarah. I'm on Blog Talk Radio.
Ima Sarah. Well, thank you so much for calling. Is there anything else I can try and answer?
No, I'm just going to continue to listen. Thank you.
Well, we've got about a minute and a half left, so thank you so much for the call.
All right, thank you.
Jeanie, do we have anything else going on?
No, Nene had said in the chat room that I was asking her how it was going in Venezuela, and she said that there was a lot of political bullying with the elections for the president in October, but that she was really glad to be able to walk and breathe and go through the green trees and the mountains, and that it was divine. And so that is about all of the conversation there. She's been able to meet with her niece and her niece's husband, and they're willing to breathe, which is a good thing. So I told her just to embrace them in her love and to teach them all how to breathe, but that was definitely an awesome gift to give to people.
Absolutely.
We just got the 90-second signal, so we don't have time for another caller.
So do you have any thoughts about that last caller, Dr. Ima Sarah, and her question?
No, I thought that you covered that very well, and appreciate you, going into such depth and talking about that. They were in the chat room until just a moment ago, and they've gone out of the chat room too. So we just got the 60-second clue, so we'll just invite everybody to join us again tomorrow at the same time to bring your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you, and to hope that you have the best year yet of your eternal life.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate you helping.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.